The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the iSpring Solutions webinar series, where every week we talk about e-learning trends, share iSpring tips and tricks, and cover clients' cases. My name is Paulina. I'm the community manager at iSpring, and I will be the moderator for today's webinar. And we are going to talk about how to create iSpring demos in 6 simple steps. And your presenter today, guys, will be my colleague Olga Zholudova. Hi, Olga. How are you doing?
Hi, Paulina. Hi, everyone. I'm doing great. Maybe just a little freaked out because this is my first webinar, but overall, I'm great. Thank you.
I'm really happy to have Olga as a presenter today because I'm sure that she has tons of information to share with you guys, and I am sure that you will find this webinar very useful. I do have great news at this moment. This webinar session is being recorded, so no worries. You will receive a link to the recording sometime tomorrow. However, I do encourage you to stay till the very end of the webinar to address your questions directly to our presenter. And to do so, please submit them in the question box, which you will find on the right side of the GoToWebinar panel. That should be at the bottom. I also have my other colleague, Stefan Burley from Technical Support Department, helping us with the questions coming in the chat during the session, and he will be also helping us out during Q&A session that we will be holding at the end of this webinar. So guys, please keep those questions coming. We will be very happy to address them. Okay, so at this point, we are ready to begin. So, Olga, I am ready to pass the mic over to you as well as the presenter rights.
All right. Do you see my screen right now?
Yes, I do see your screen. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Hello again, everyone. I am super excited to be here today. Again, my name is Olga, and I'm a blog editor and content creator at iSpring. And before I start, I would like to say a few words about my work experience. So I have been working at iSpring for about 7 years in total, and during these years, I've been involved in the creation of different types of content, including website copy, interface copy, promotions, mailings, landing pages, sample courses, and blog articles. Now I spend most of my time creating case studies for the iSpring blog, and I would like to show you. I'm sorry. If you go to the iSpring blog, here we go. And if you click this case studies tag, you can see my recent case studies right here. I encourage you to read those case studies because these are amazing. I love how our clients manage to create those amazing pieces of content, having no IT experience at all, or sometimes having little IT experience. And my recent case was about Villa St. Vincent, an amazing woman, Jill Brown, who helped me so much. I know that Jill watches our webinars. So Jill, if you're with us, big hi to you. And it was a pleasure to work with you. And if you would like to share your story in the blog, do contact me using this address below, olga.c@ispringsolutions.com. I will be happy to work with you so that you can share your story and inspire other people to create amazing content with iSpring. So make sure you contact me if you have something interesting to share. And now let's move to the topic of this webinar, my 6 steps to create demo content with iSpring. First of all, I would like to say that I really enjoy creating content with iSpring. I have created over 40 different demos for iSpring products, and about 30 of them are now live on our website. So I will ask Polina to send the link to the demos section to the chat so that you can see them. And please let me know in the comments if you have seen in the chat if you have seen any of our demos, if you like some of them, which ones you like most. I would be just happy to find that out. Do share it in the comments, please. So having created all those demos, I have worked out a 6-step process that helps me quickly create any type of content. So let's take a quick look at my 6 steps. The first step is setting goals and making a plan. Then I do research and collect source material. Then I structure content, edit and polish it. Then I implement and design content item. And then finally, I can test the final product with stakeholders. All right, so now to illustrate how this process works for me, I would like to share how I created one of my favorite pieces of content, the car sale dialog simulation. First of all, I would like to show it to you. It is live on our website, and here's what it looks like. The simulation starts with a brief intro, which explains that you are a salesperson in the Fast Motors automotive dealership, and your task for today is to prepare the client to purchase a new car. Okay, so then we click Start. And the dialogue begins. In the very first scene, the client doesn't say anything, so it's up to me to decide what I'm going to do. Approach her immediately, or wait for a couple of minutes so that she could look around, or maybe I can do nothing and wait for the client to contact me. All right, so let's choose the second one. Let's give her some time to look around and see what happens. Yay, it was very smart of me to choose this option. Obviously, it was the correct option. And now she seems interested in the new fast ruler model. Click continue. And she doesn't say anything so far. And I have to choose whether I will greet her marketing style, like I'm here to help you find the right car, or maybe should I be more gentle and ask her name first? Let's hit the second one. Let's do it marketing style. Well, obviously this wasn't enough to build a rapport with her, so yeah, she doesn't want to talk to me because I was too pushy, you know. Probably I can save the conversation by doing something else, but I think you see the point here. So this is what it looks like. And by the way, I encourage you to try and complete this simulation. And if you manage to close the deal by the end of this webinar, do let me know in the comments. That I'm just curious to know if you can do it, because this dialogue is quite challenging to my mind. Okay, so now that you've seen what it looks like, step to create this dialogue was to set goals and make a plan. 3 years ago, I was asked to make a demo for our future product, iSpring TalkMaster, which was at that time still under development. iSpring TalkMaster is a component of iSpring suite that helps create interactive dialog simulations. So with this task, I had 3 goals. I had to create an effective and realistic simulation that would serve as a learning material. And my second goal was to showcase the functionality of the new product. And my third goal was to test the capabilities of the new product and to make feature requests to the product team. So having these goals at hand, I needed a topic. And since dialogues are a great tool for sales training, we chose car sales as a topic. Now, I have to say that I didn't know anything special about cars or car sales at that time. I even hadn't driven a car for a while, and I had just read a few books on sales in general. So my first plan was very, very rough. This is what I thought would be inside the simulation. So there was definitely going to be some sort of greeting, need identification, and overcoming rejections as a must-have of any sales training. There was definitely going to be a cop presentation and the closing the deal stage. So this was all I knew about the subject before I started researching it. So this moves us to the next step, research and collecting source material. Well, you know that content is king. So in order to create a realistic content item, we need to collect a lot of real information, facts, specific details, etc., etc. So my first step was obviously internet research. I browsed through car dealers' websites. I watched tutorials on YouTube about car sales. I read lots of car community forums and websites about cars, and this helped me get a general understanding of the topic. But now I needed more specific information for the dialogue itself. Well, my dialogue was going to be between two people, the salesperson and the client. So I needed to find out the motivations of both of them to be able to recreate the atmosphere within the dialogue. So as my second step, I decided to collect more information about car sales. I went to the car dealership, and I have a local car dealership here where I live. So I came there and I shared the details of my project, and they shared a copy of their last year's training with me. And that's how I learned what a salesperson is supposed to do and say to a client, how they start the conversation, how they overcome objections, etc., etc. So now, at that point, the only thing I was missing was real life experience. So I had the information from the salesperson's point of view, and I needed to have the information from the client's point of view as well. As my step 3, I made up a backstory for myself and went to the dealership to buy a car. I came to the showroom and I actually had a conversation with the salesperson, and I took brief notes of the conversation with the salesperson in my iPhone, and I even went on a test drive. And guess what? I even fell in love with the car for real, and I asked my husband if we could buy it. But that was all so funny. And you know what? Those marketing things and tricks, they really work, because I really wanted to buy that car that day. But that's beside the point. The point is that I had 3 levels of research. I got general information from websites and books. Subject matter experts from the dealership, and I got real experience from doing it, from actually going to the showroom. And thanks to this approach, I collected enough material to start creating the simulation. I can see a question, did I buy a car? No, I couldn't afford a car at that moment. And that's what my husband told me. But this was I think that was the best experience of that time. Actually doing it like I'm some kind of an actor or a secret agent. This was fun, so much fun. And having all this information at hand, I could now create a prototype of my future dialogue. So this is step 3, structure my content. I have to say that I always do a paper prototype of any content, and there are two reasons for that. The first reason is flexibility, because you can crumple the old version and immediately create a new one. You can scatter all those papers around. You can work with them all at once, as opposed to a computer where you have only limited screen real estate. And by the way, sticky notes make your paper prototype even more flexible because you can quickly change the order of items. You can add new ones, you can throw away older ones, etc., etc. And the second reason I do a paper prototype is that it makes collaboration easier. I can always show my prototype to a designer or a colleague, and they can give feedback in the early stages. Iteration after iteration, my initial plan, you remember what it looked like? Greeting, need identification, etc. It transformed first into some detailed notes, and I kept taking those notes while I was researching the information and going to the showroom. Then I created, based on those detailed notes, I created the structure of the dialog tree, and you probably can see those different shapes which represent different stages of the dialog. So this was just a rough idea of what was going to be inside the simulation. And then based on this tree structure, I created a detailed dialog tree on paper. And each cloud over here is brief concept of what was going to be inside each scene, and I use those post-its as feedbacks between the scenes, so that I could clearly see them and test them. So these were different versions of my paper prototypes, and before I went to the authoring tool, before I started building it in the authoring tool, I had to double check all the copy. And with this project, it wasn't easy because due to my topic, my texts were quite complicated. This was step 4, editing and polishing content. Here are just a few examples of texts I had in my dialog simulation. I had to make up different car names, fake names for cars, because obviously I couldn't use real names. And I had to make up all those details and characteristic, like 2 airbags, whiplash injury lessening seats, etc., etc. And I wanted to make sure they were all realistic so that the simulation is really effective and true to life. So that took me some time. And once I had a strong structure and version 1 of the dialog copy, I could implement and design my demo in the tool, in iSpring TalkMaster. So I moved to the authoring tool, and right now I want to show you what it looked like from the very beginning. So I'm going to escape my presentation and go to a blank slide. Here's how you create a presentation from scratch. You and select dialog simulation right here on the toolbar. And here's iSpring TalkMaster, and we click New Simulation here. All right, so here's the black canvas where we can create scenes. I would like to create a new scene. All right, so the scene consists of, look here, the scene consists of character speech, and we can add replies or we can add a message. Because my first scene was an intro, I need a message here. So I added a message which says, welcome to Fast Motors Automotive Dealership Showroom. You are a salesperson. You've seen that message because we've done already the simulation. So I now have to choose a character. Did you see what I did? I clicked on this character picture and I had to choose a character. And my character was from iSpring content library. So I'm clicking add from content library. And here she is, Jamie. Welcome aboard, Jamie. Yay. I've downloaded Jamie from the content library and I click on the background tab to select background. And I use this one. All right, so now we can close this window and the first scene, the introduction scene, is ready to go. We can preview this scene by using this preview icon in the bottom. So here's what it looks like. There's also mood indicator here in the corner, which shows whether our client is happy or not. Right now, she's happy because she has just came to the showroom. All right, so this was the first scene. And now to create another scene connected with this one, I can always add a new scene using icon on the toolbar, but I like this one better. I can drag this link icon away from the scene. And here it is, a new scene that's already connected with the first one. Okay, so my second scene was about saying something to the client. So the client is still silent, and I need to add 3 choices for the learner to choose from. So I suggest that he goes for it now. Then I add wait a couple of minutes. And the third one, do nothing. So here it is. We can preview the scene right away. Here it is, 3 options, and the client is saying nothing. Okay, I like it. Now you can see that there is a orange circle with a triangle inside it. It indicates that there are replies that are not connected to any scenes. So we can drag a reply for each of the choices. And here we go. We have 3 scenes for each reply. Now I'm going to develop this branch, do nothing and wait for the client to come to you. I'm going to say that this is not the right choice. So I'm adding a message, a feedback message, that most potential clients don't approach any salespeople until the moment they decide to buy. So this is like a way to give information to the learner. All right. And I think I'm going to make this branch, to add a dead end to this branch. So if you don't, you will address someone else. So I'm adding a message that she looks around for a while and approaches our colleague for help, and he lands the sale. All right, so as I usually do, I preview every branch that I develop so that to make sure that it looks smooth and logical, etc. So I'm going to preview this from scene number 2. And if we choose do nothing, first we get feedback that this is not the right thing to do. And then sadly, we get feedback that we failed this dialogue. Our colleague landed the sale. All right, so One more thing that I just love about iSpring TalkMaster is that you can mark these scenes with color to easily manage them. So this scene is a dead end, and I'm going to mark it red. I open the scene and I go to Properties tab, and I use red color for the scene. And if I could hit close, yeah, it's red. So I can see, now I can see when I develop the rest of the dialog, I can always see that here is a dead end. I don't need to add any scenes to this branch because this was supposed to be a dead end. And this is very convenient. This is what I love about iSpring TalkMaster. And one more thing I wanted to share with you is that, well, if we change places for these two cards, do you think those connections will be messed up? No, they change positions. So it all looks very beautiful. All right, so fast forward about an hour, and here we go. The dialog is ready. No, actually, I just wanted to show you what it looks like, the final version of the dialog. And if you want to find out how to create the entire dialog from scratch to this final version, we're having a workshop on February where our technical support specialist Sophia will get into technical details of creating this dialog in iSpring TalkMaster, how to create scenes, how to set up points, how to add narrations, and more. Paulina will share the link to the webinar in the chat right now. So spots are limited. Make sure to reserve your spot right now. I think that in general, this is clear how to technically create these things in TalkMaster. And I wanted to focus more on the content of the simulation and what makes it effective and realistic. So I have highlighted 4 components of an effective dialogue. Oops, sorry, I can't use PowerPoint before I save and close my simulation. All right. So 4 components of an effective dialogue. I'm sorry. Let me just open it full screen. Yes. Are dead ends, feedback messages, alternative routes, and checkpoints to test attention. The first component, dead ends. You have already seen an example of a dead end. Dead ends make dialogue more challenging and closer to real life, because in real life you can't take a step back if you do something wrong. You will have to start over with a different client, and here it's the same. Let's see it once again. If you have missed it, maybe scene 1, preview. So if we do nothing and avoid contacting client, we get negative feedback and we hit the dead end. So we have to finish. We have to start over. So this was a dead end to make a dialogue more challenging. Now, the second component of an effective dialogue is feedback messages. In my car sale simulation, almost every decision a feedback message that explains whether they did a right choice or not. For example, let's get back to our TalkMaster and take a look at scene number 9. Let's preview it first. Here, in the previous scene, we asked for client's name, and she says, "My name is Amber." Now let's pretend that we mispronounce her name. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Amy. Are you looking for a car?" And you can see that we get a feedback that it's very important to catch the name of the client and use it correctly in order to build a rapport. And you can also see that the mood indicator changes to yellow. So she's not happy with what happened. But if we hit continue, let's see if this was a critical mistake. No, she just says that her name is Amber, and we can say that we're sorry and get back to the dialogue. So this is how I use feedbacks, not just to give the understanding of why they were wrong, but to give those hints that help learners avoid different mistakes while talking to clients. All right, so let's move to the next component, alternative routes. All right, so I think that most of the dialects that I've seen were too easy because they were lacking alternative routes. In real life, a conversation can go in a million different directions, and when we see a simulation, there's usually one obviously right option and one option that's obviously wrong. I think this is not a good way to create a dialogue. So I would like to show you two examples of alternative routes in my simulation. So the first one is pretty simple. Let's preview this scene. So the client here starts to describe their needs, and we start identifying her needs, so asking questions. And in this scene, you can ask this question in 3 different ways. You can be short, or you can use more words, you can be more or less polite, but anyway, she will answer, because at this point she's interested in the conversation, and everything is going fine. So if we get back to the tree, we can see that those 3 branches, they all end up in scene number 29. So these are 3 alternative routes, and our learner can choose any of them. Now there's one more example of alternative routes right here. If we preview scene number 43, we can see that the client says that she's going to sell their old car, and what we are going to say to her, we can either offer her a trade-in option, or we can not do that. We can start offering her our cars, and it doesn't affect the dialogue drastically. So you just go a little bit differently, but you will still end up in scene number 47. So this is a more complex approach to alternative routes, when you may have to go through more scenes, but eventually you end up on the successful route. So this is what makes a dialogue interesting, and even if a learner has to take it 1 time or 3 times or 4 times, all the time he can or she can find it interesting, because they can use different routes and follow different routes and try to be successful anyway. And I also wanted to show you one connected with alternative routes. I just wanted to show you how I use those colors of different scenes in my dialogue to mark different stages of the dialogue. So the green scenes are greeting. Then we have need identification. Then if we move down here, we have overcoming objections right here. And this is closing the deal. and the green ones are successful. Oh, I can see a question, and I think I can answer it. When they hit a dead end and click finish, where does it take the learner? Oh, that's a good question. Actually, you can set up your dialog so that oh, I'm sorry. You can set up your dialog to start over after it's finished. I think at the end of the webinar, I will ask Stefan to show you how it's done. But right now, we can only see the finish button because it's a preview mode. But in my actual dialog, there is also a restart button, so they can start over. All right, and the just a second. The fourth component of an effective dialogue is checkpoints to test attention. In real life, a salesperson is supposed to be very attentive to what the client says, especially when identifying their needs. But in the context of the simulation, a learner can skip some information and just try to guess the correct answers. Now, to avoid that, I have incorporated a decision checkpoint where a learner has to choose the right car based on what the client has been saying so far. So let me show this to you. As I said, these blue scenes are all need identification. So here's where we found out what the client is looking for. And now we have these purple scenes. Let's preview them. Where it says that based on what you know up to this point, what vehicle would you choose? Would you show Amber? And we have 3 different vehicles. They're very different. I don't know if you're great with cars. If you have some experience, you can see how different they are. And as you can see back here on the tree, this middle branch is the shortest way to success. And these 2 branches are basically wrong. So this one goes to a dead end, and this one, with this one, you can get to scene 72, but you will have to do more steps. And this is a chance for you to identify the needs correctly, but you still have the risk to hit these dead ends or these dead ends. So this is a very important stage. And if you hit the dead end at this stage, you will have to start over, and you will have to, this time you will have to memorize whatever the client is saying and analyze this information in order to make the right choice when you come to this checkpoint again. So this is what I like about iSpring TalkMaster, that you can create such checkpoints. I think that this makes a dialogue very challenging and effective, because this teaches you to listen attentively, and it shows you the consequences of not listening. Now, that's it about the components of a successful dialogue. And I forgot to tell you about designing the demo, right? One of the things that I like about iSpring TalkMaster is that it's so easy to use that it doesn't require any design skills. You simply choose, let's get back to this first thing. I simply chose the character, and I chose the background, and that's it. All the other things are automatically transformed according to what I have chosen. And that's it. I can publish it and it's ready to go. It's all very beautiful. It will look very professional. But for my other demos, I usually use the iSpring content library with all the templates and assets. And I also pick images from the web, but you have to be very careful here because well, some of the images are not allowed for commercial use. And by the way, there is a handy article on our blog, and I will ask Polina to share the link in the chat right now. It's called 10 websites where you can get free stock images. Please check it out because this is very interesting. And all right, then we go to the final step, step 6, testing final product with stakeholders. We can publish the content and show it to the stakeholders to get feedback. In my case, I sent my dialog to the iSpring product team, to sales, and to marketing. And then I just had to apply a few comments, and the dialog went live. You can find the dialog and all the other demos on our website. I can show you, I think. If you go to the iSpring website and choose iSpring Suite, and then you need to go to the Demos tab. And you can either scroll down or use this sidebar to get straight to the car sale dialog. And by the way, you can also download source file for all the demos we have here. Thank you, Mary, for all the demos we have. So if you want to try to recreate what we have, you can always do that by simply downloading source file. So these were my 6 steps that I use to create demo content or any type of content. They are pretty simple, and I know that many of my colleagues have the same approach to content, but hopefully in the combination with this TalkMaster demo, you've learned something new. So thank you for your attention, and I'm ready to answer your questions. Thank you. Polina?
Thank you very much, Olga. I think it was a wonderful webinar with tons of information that our attendees can get going. Can start using right away. I would also like to ask you guys, how did you like this webinar? Whether you learned something new, or what kind of information would you like to add to it in the future? I would also like to remind to those of you who have joined us a little late that we will have a very detailed TalkMaster workshop with Sophia from Technical Support Department, where she will talk about all the tech side of TalkMaster and how to use your images, on how to add narration, how to add points and stuff like that. So you're welcome to sign up for this webinar already, and I've shared the link to it in the chat section, but I will probably share it just one more time because I know that sometimes people who join later just can't see the earlier chat messages for some reason. I don't know why exactly, but that is unfair. Okay, so I'm sending it right now. Yep, it's working. Okay, so I've also seen that Stefan has been taking care about all the questions coming in the chat during Olga's presentation. However, I do see some of the questions that are still not answered. Thank you very much, guys, for sending them in. So yeah, let's start with the one from Carolina. Is it possible to add more than one character person to the scene? Who would like to answer this one, Olga or Stefan?
Do you mean to the same scene or
Yes.
use? different people within the dialogue. No, you cannot add several people to one scene. But if you want to like switch roles, you can do that. You can use Jesse for scene 1, and then you can add I don't know, Jim to scene 2 if you want to simulate that the person changes. The customer they're talking to is different.
Olga, hi everyone. Olga, I'm really sorry to interrupt you here. So actually, there is a little workaround that you can guys use to add more than one character for a scene. As Olga has told, I believe that you can use not only the images for the backgrounds and for the characters from our content library, which is really a massive store of images of characters. You can also use your own characters. And the thing is, these characters, they come from images, so like JPEG images or PNG images. And there you can add, for example, you can create a new image in Photoshop or maybe even in Paint, Microsoft Paint, the default application from Windows. And you can add 2 characters on this image, then save this image as a PNG file and add this image to one of your scenes. And this way you get 2 characters right on one scene. So this is a little workaround that I can suggest that you use.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is brilliant, actually. I didn't think of that. Yeah, this is brilliant.
Now you, Olga, can incorporate this workaround in your future courses.
Yes, I can, and I will.
Awesome. But hopefully they will add this option in the future. There's also one question from, I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name. I'm sorry, George. I'm not quite sure. I apologize. But the question is there an advantage to use voiceover or not? Yes, there is an advantage to use it. And you can voice over every reply and also every character line. Am I correct? Hello? Is anyone there?
I think Stefan is the best person to answer this question.
Yeah.
Sorry. So an advantage. Well, probably the biggest advantage here is some users, they might not be very good at reading. So I'm not saying that they might be physically impaired. I'm not sure if it's the right word. But yeah, so they have a headset and they listen to voiceovers, and it is easier for them to select the right answer rather than read it. So, and yeah, that's the advantages that I personally see. And I believe a lot of our users take advantage of this and voice their replies. Just like you can see in one of our demos on our website, I believe we have one of the demos is bank dialog, which is right here, the second one. Yeah, I believe it is voiced, and it is really more interesting and engaging, I believe, to listen rather than read. But maybe it's it's oh yeah, it's up to you, up to your users. So you have to
exactly. You have a choice.
Right. Yeah, it's always better to have a choice than not to have it, right? I mean.
Yeah. And there's a question from Ron. Can the learner replay voiceovers? Yes. You can either stop if, for example, if the reply is too big or the feedback message is too long, you don't want to listen to all of it, you can just simply click on that same play button and it will stop automatically. And then you can replay it if you want to hear it again. And also there was a question from Katika. I would like to address it to you, Stefan. How is this uploaded to an LMS?
So it depends. So if you, well, Actually, we support SCORM, so most of learning management system, they support SCORM. The thing that I meant, you can include your dialog simulation into a bigger course that you create in PowerPoint. If you have like your PowerPoint slides with some theory, and you also have quizzes, and one of the slides, it has dialog simulation, and then you can have this big course and you can publish it to SCORM to later upload it to your learning management system. Or you can create a standalone dialog simulation, and then the score that the users get for the dialog simulation is going to be the score that the users will see when they take this dialog simulation in the learning management system when it is assigned to them. So yeah, the dialog simulations, the scoring from them, it goes to learning management system, and you will see how many points the user scored and if they passed or failed.
Thank you very much, Stefan. I think we have all questions answered by this point, but we do still have a couple more minutes, and that's a great chance for you guys to still submit any questions that you have at this point. So before we wrap up our webinar, I would like to remind you one more time that we're going to have a detailed workshop on how to create this exact dialog simulation, car sale dialog, in TalkMaster with my colleague from technical support department, Sophia. So she will be demonstrating all the neat techniques and how it's actually how easy it is to work in TalkMaster. So she will create this dialog simulation from scratch, and I have shared the link for you to sign up for this webinar in the chat box. So please take this option to save your seat right now. And also, I just wanted to remind you really quickly that this session has been recorded, so you guys will receive the recording sometime tomorrow. And yes, I guess no more questions at this point, so we can officially wrap up our webinar. I would like to thank all our attendees for coming today. We greatly appreciate it, and we do hope that you found this webinar useful. If you liked it, please let us know in the chat. And I would like to thank Olga for preparing such a wonderful topic. It was really cool to find out about this story behind the story about the story behind all the demos on iSpring website. I think it's quite unique and webinar, and also very much full of really cool tips that I'm sure that our attendees will be able to use right away. Thank you very much, Olga.
Thank you, Polina. Thank you for believing in me, and thank
And
you.
you.
Thanks to all attendees for your kind words, for the questions, for being with us for this hour. I loved it. I would love to do something more. If you're interested in having me, you can send me a request, or and I would like to repeat that if you have an interesting or any story in your experience of using iSpring, do write me at olga.z at ispringsolutions.com and share your story. I would be happy to work with your story.
Yep. And thank you, Stefan, of course, for taking care of the questions. You've been great, as always. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Polina. Thank you, Olga. And thank you guys for attending.
All right, so hope everyone has a wonderful day, and we'll see you at the next webinar. Bye-bye, everyone.